Welcome back to Solar Factory episode. This is episode 27. What's happened? What you're looking at there is the sort of what's going to be the East Factory. It's going to primarily concentrate on all the quantum technology tier 9 stuff. So you can't quite see, but over to the right hand side we've got some, that's the reanimated SAM, I think, if I recall. I'm trying to get used to these names of these things, these new materials, new items. Pretty sure that's reanimated. No, that's SAM fluctuator or whatever it's called. Is that what that is? That's reanimated SAM. That's made through right underneath us, through these constructors from the actual raw SAM. That's basically just stored at the moment. It also goes down across to here into these couple of converters, which are making fixite ingots, which are stored in here, which then into these fixite trigons. So that's just materials not being used anywhere else at the moment, those things. This structure is taking excited photonic matter from this thing, combining it with time crystals, supercomputers and the fixite trigons. Oh, they're being used. Okay, cool. Forgot about that. To make neural quantum processors, plus this dark matter residue off byproduct. The neural processors have just been stored at the moment. I've got a couple of thousand of them sitting in here. The residue comes across to here, into this particle accelerator, which is making dark matter crystals. Dark matter crystals combined with a couple of crystal oscillators that have been made here into a quantum encoder, which has also been mixed in with this excited photonic matter thing again to make the superposition oscillators. Now they are needed for, at the moment we've got a bunch of them in here being stored. They are needed for, I think they needed for one of those things in the phase 5, I think. The first thing, the second thing, which I can't remember what it's called now. What are they called? I think it's needed in the biochemical sculpture, I think. Biochemical sculpture. Nope, it's not in that one. Must be the one next to it, which is the AI expansion. Yes, so they're needed in that. Could make 256 of those, so I'm building them up for that. I think they're also used in some material buildings as well, but I can't quite recall. So they're used in to make that. That's what that whole structure's there for. And the one on this far in here is that fixite thing. So you may have also noticed that I've tidied up the belt run here, so now I've just got the one coming out of here. Eventually we'll fix the other side of it, the factory, but I've centered this one. We've also now got being made over here. Just fly across the other side of the map here. Just go quicker. So you notice at the very top left hand corner we've got the phase 5 objectives. The first one of those, left hand side of one of those, is called nuclear pasta. That needs these pressure conversion cubes. It gets combined with nuclear pasta gets combined with copper powder. Now I'm struggling to do the copper powder at the moment. I've got a couple of options. I've got no copper that's really free here that's enough to make enough raw copper to make enough to supply this setup. I have got a bunch of copper ores. Just in terms of the map, they are down here. See here, I've built a radar tower here. This is why I'm able to see these. So I've got 3 nodes here now. I could bring them up if we go flying. So they are basically where that train station is through the gap there. So they're just at the bottom of that tower there. I could bring them up and then build them across here and then get them across here and come all the way through here and join them to this setup here to join with the pressure conversion cubes to make the nuclear pasta, That's one option. It's probably the simplest in terms of the build, even though it's going to be a long belt run. Other alternative I've got is I go to another part of the map, for example here, the dune area, desert dune area, where there's a whole heap of copper nodes of various purities. Build the copper powder there. I'll have a way more capacity there to do it, and then just drone it into the factory here. That's one option. Downside of doing that is I've then got to make sure I've got enough batteries. I've got to expand the drone port there, which has got its own issues. So I think I'll just end up building some copper ore miners down there, built them through the middle of the factory to where it was to make the copper powder to then turn into nuclear pasta. Make enough just to supply the phase 5 complete objective. Once you've done that, the nuclear pasta is then also used in these singularity cells. So singularity cells are needed for one of these other things. I think the ballistic drive on the end there, I think. Yes, it's used ballistic warp drive, which is the far right phase 5 item, along with the oscillators, dark matter crystals, and the thermal-propulsion rocket, which I've got a heap of, so that's not an issue. But what it's also used in is, I can't show it on there, it's used in these quantum technology portals that they've introduced. So one of my favourite mods that I had for getting around the map really easily was a little teleporter device that basically sat just to the left of the little hole there. You could just create any teleport anywhere, and you could give it a name. It was a mod, sorry, just to clarify, it was a mod. You could then go, I want to go to this particular teleporter, and it just teleport you straight there. You could then use the same one to teleport back, or teleport another teleport, and you just go around the map, the environment, the world very, very quickly. They've introduced these, so this is a one-way teleporter, which is not quite as flexible as the mod was. So you link what they call the main portal to a satellite portal, which I've just built over there just to see how this works. Thing is, this needs singularity cells to A, run, and I think B, to actually do the teleportation. So the main thing at the moment, I'm just trying to build up these singularity cells just to see how this thing works. And I need nuclear pasta for that because it's in the singularity cell. Needs nuclear pasta, dark matter crystals, iron plates, which I've got heaps of, and concrete, which I can make heaps of if needed. The dark matter crystals are made in this part accelerator here. I'm making 30 minute at the moment, which is what I need exactly for this production, but by chucking in a couple of summer sloops, I can upplate the multiplier to double and output 60 without any need to increase the input material, which is something I've just started to discover what that actually does, and it's really kind of neat. So you can put those summer slips in, just so you know. The summer slips are these around the environment. They're just pickups. They've served no purpose until 1.0, and now they've sort of got this sci-fi reality concept where you can just use them in. They're used in some of the research in here. Alien technology, so they're used. Mersosphere, sorry, that's in there. And where's the summer slip? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so they were used there, for example. But I have about a 20 or so in here. Got 14 of them. So you put those into a certain number of machines, or certain machine types, and they will multiply the output, but don't require an increase of the input materials to do that. So you end up with like just a buff, basically, in a way. So we can do that, make that output 60 without having to do anything, which would be good. And I can then feed that into the next thing of making these singularity cells. But the issue is the copper powder. So what I think I'll do, just because it's probably going to be the easiest and quickest, is to build... I wonder if I could use the train. Would that be a better way to do it? If I was to build the train... No, I got rid of the tracks. The train that is there was used for the uranium run, which I've now got rid of. No, the track is still actually there, so I could... no, not much point. So what we'll do is we will... So at the bottom of this tower to our left, you can just see them just... If I do a copper ore scan, you'll see them pop up just where my reticle is. Dum dum dum. There's 3 of them. I think they're all normals. So we'll build a couple of Mark III miners on them, bring that up that same tower that this uranium is coming up. We'll belt it along the inside of the uranium one, and then when it gets to the point where it's level with the power with the factory, we'll do a hard left turn and we'll go right down the middle, all the way through to the south factory, and start turning that into copper ingots, and then from that into copper powder. Join that with the nuclear conversion, the pressure conversion cubes already there, to make our nuclear pasta, and then that'll then get shipped back along with, I think, along with some iron plates, to then join up with probably this building just here, because I can then take the dark matter crystals from next to it. There is I'll then need concrete, which I can either bring in from over there, or probably what I'll end up doing, because I think it's going to be easier, is underneath that structure there, or the batteries are, is a couple of limestone nodes. I think I'll just zip it out of that and then bring it back into where I am and just build the concrete for this production line. So we'll have a bunch of stuff in this where we'll build it on this thing, on this building here, this platform here. So dark matter crystals from there, pressure conversion cubes, and the nuclear pasta from basically back there, iron plate from that big tower, back in through here, along to here, into here, concrete from here, we'll build concrete here as well, dark matter crystals in there, and we'll build singularity cells in this building here. That will allow us to very easily drop it down to this left hand, looking from this side, the left hand container, which is feeding this, and that will allow me to start playing around with these portals. And also when I've got enough of them, I'll start putting them into the AR expansion or whatever the other thing it needed. I can't remember what it was now. But the main thing is to play around with these portals to see how if they're really going to be really useful, and how much of a pain in the ass they are, because they're one way. So I can travel from this one to there and then back again. So if I wanted to, I would probably build some central portal area inside the central storage hub that we're going to build in the middle of the factory area here. So it'll just have a bit where you'll travel to desert dunes, and if travel back to then go to the nuclear generator, and then travel back to go to the plastics and there. So it won't be as flexible as the mod was, but it's an inbuilt game function, which I think is probably a better thing to use. So next thing, I'll do a bunch of work, cut back to this, and we'll hopefully have at least the copper run down to there and making those nuclear pastas. And then we'll come back and see what that looks like and what that was like. Alright, I'll see you in a few seconds. Okay, and there is our nuclear pasta production tower. So it actually ended up being a lot easier to do this because I've forgotten about a copper ore node right here. This is copper ore that was originally being fed to that set of machines over there that ultimately makes ingots, then wire to go into the crystal oscillators. It was just a Mark 1 belt. I thought it was an impure one, which I didn't think was going to be enough, but it turns out it's normal, so I've whacked a Mark 3 miner on it, maxed it out to 250% clock speed. So now producing 600 a minute from this little guy. It comes down here and it splits. Goes back in through here. Goes up here, goes through there still, so it's still going its original path for its original purpose. But then I do a little split there, out into there, which now comes up into here. And what I've got here is 8 smelters. They're making the same amount on each side. So the first one, you see it's got this purple flame stuff going out of it. That's what this summer sloop multiplier does. That multiplies the output without changing any requirement for the input. So by doing that at 75, 250 and doubled, then this at 250, 250% but not doubled, 60, 45 sorry, and 30 for the last one, we now get, coming out of that set of smelters, 300 copper ingots a minute. We then feed it into a constructor, which is just running at 100% but also doubled, to produce 100 copper powder per minute. Likewise with that one, that then feeds into here to produce 200 a minute, which feeds into here, and this is just doubled the output to give us 1 per minute. So there we've got, coming up to here, about a dozen or so, or 5 nuclear pasta in there. I could double that again and put the summer sloops in there and put 4 of them in there. The thing that it does though, it ups the power consumption to 15,000 megawatts, which I've got enough to go with, but it just seems a bit excessive. So there's our nuclear pasta production. So we'll let that build up over the time and eventually fit it into that thing, and then we'll be home and dusted. What I then did was grabbed what I'd already built in terms of some dark matter crystals, which I'd spare, and some iron plate and concrete, and I've already started to build, just manually fed into a manufacturer. And as a result of doing that, we've now got 20 singularity cells, which we're going to put into here, because I've not done this yet. So put it into here, which will now power that up. Just seeing what it even does. So it's heating up. So apparently this takes a lot of power to get this bit up. So it's using 2 per minute so far. I think it goes to 1,000 if I recall from what I've read or heard online. I assume that will now be green, I think, when it finishes. Okay, so it's now maintaining the connection. Now the maintaining connection is just to there, by the way. So it's not a long way for it to go. Curious if it gets to the end of that maintaining connection, does it then use another 2 to then go down to 17 singularity cells? I'm guessing it will. Yes, okay. So if I just walk in here. Okay. And now I can go back through to it. And what has that done in terms of usage? Nothing. Okay, so it just needs 2 singularity cells per minute to maintain the connection. So the next thing to curiosity about is whether that does the connection, the 2 per minute or the 2 per minute for what it's doing here, does that increase the further away the other portal is? So that's basically. So if I now go and dismantle this other one, so she will now mean that's essentially stopped because there's nothing for it to do. Yep, pedal's not been linked. Okay. Okay, let me just come into here and grab some more of those. Right, so what I'd like to do is... Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself to the Desert Dune area. I'm going to put another portal at this end. And then have to wander back, link it. I don't think I can link it from the satellite end. And then just see if that power consumption is higher the further it's got to teleport me. Yeah, I'm curious about that. Alright, I will get myself to the other end where I want to put it. Let's do it. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. I'll be back in a few minutes once I've built the portal, come back and then linked it. We'll see what that takes in terms of power consumption, or at least not power consumption. How many of those singularity cells it needs to maintain that connection, because I'm wondering if it increases the further the portal is away from the base one. Be nice if it didn't, but we'll see. Right, here I am at my drone port in the Desert Dune area, so I've gone using the power pack. I've gone from here, here, space elevator, all the way to my drone port, sorry, here. I built it. This is actually where the old teleporter used to be, I used to have, so I'm just going to power it up. And then we're going to configure it. Ah, cool. We can actually link it from here. Go and choose the other one, chunk, and select link. Alright, so assume that's the other end powering up. Okay. Okay, so it's done. Okay, so this is a fair... Alright, so that animation took longer. So I'm assuming... No, it's the same per minute, okay. It's going to take, so every 1 minute it's going to consume 2 of those things. Yeah, It's a very cool animation though, when it does it. The one thing that the mod struggled with, I won't rephrase that, the game struggled with the mod, was that every time you teleported, the frame rate had bogged down as it had to reload all the assets in and from where you just teleported to. So I'm guessing that animation we're going through is actually just a way in which it allows the game to preload all the assets in for where the area you're moving to, which means that when it comes out on this end, it's pretty much seamless in terms of the loading in, because it's already done it all. I must admit, that's actually pretty cool. And it doesn't appear to... I really can't get any further away. Like from there, basically there to here, it's probably one of the furthest points I've got, other than maybe to there where the the Spy Coast is, where the plastic has been made. Obviously that will stop, so at 2 per minute it's only going to last for 50 minutes, then it'll stop, which is why you'd need to have a pretty good supply. If you're to have, like if I were to build one that goes to there, one that goes to this one that goes to here, one that goes to the way station for the aluminium ingots there, and one goes to nuclear, I'd need 1, 2, 3, one, so I'd need 1 to the swamp, 1 to the desert dune, which is 2, 3 to Spy Coast, 4 to the ingots, 5 to nuclear, and 6 to the gas filters and beams and stuff. So you'd need to have, so basically using essentially 2 per minute per portal, you need to have like 15 or 16 be made per minute, and it's not a particularly, it does make 10 a minute, so it does output a fair bit. So it does output a fair bit. So it's and that's just the base level. I've not done anything in terms of, I haven't done anything in terms of doubling the output or anything like that. So you could put in that and end up with 20 a minute. And then you could even double this and end up with 40 a minute. And that would be enough to, well, even the 20 enough there, with it being double outputted, is enough to probably power the half dozen I was talking about fairly well. So it might not be too bad. It might not be too bad. I was concerned with this thing that they would make it really expensive to maintain the link, and that would basically mean I would have just gone back to using the mod. But I think this might actually be a good, sort of a good outcome, a good setup. So I think that's good. I mean, I'm really actually quite impressed with how quick, when you get the other end, how it just loads in and you're off and racing. So yeah, it's good. That's a good little feature, that one. That's already run out of something already. Concrete. It does require a lot of concrete. 200 per minute. That's a lot of concrete. So making the nuclear pass to here, because it's been made just literally above us. We are making 1 a minute. 1 a minute, so that's enough to feed just that thing. It needs 1 a minute. The dark crystal is 20 a minute, which is this thing over here. She's already making 30 a minute, which is just enough to feed that encoder, which is making these things. So, which I've got quite a few in here now. I've got just under 3,900 in there. So it's possible I just use the singularity cells to build what I need to build in terms of the phase 5 stuff. And then I'll just have the singularity cells to spare after that. So you need iron plate. Now we've got another 20. You need iron plate, which I've got being made by the about 300 a minute down in that big tower, not being used. That's not an issue. And concrete, well, I think I was pretty sure that sitting underneath. I'm pretty confident that sitting underneath. Yeah, see that one there, that there, all three normals are underneath that thing, underneath that 5-story battery storage building. So 3 normals is more than enough to create that much concrete. So I think I can easily make the singularity cells. The dark matter crystal is the interesting one, because I'd either need to make another one of, make this setup again, which is taking the diamonds from the other, from the south factory. Dark matter residue is coming from byproduct of that one, but actually from that above, so that's the tricky balance one. Or I could just put the multiplier in that and make 60 a minute. If we can say concentrate 60 a minute, we could easily split off 20 a minute to feed into this thing. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but that's something. That's something for another episode. Actually, well, so I will call it episode end of episode 27. 27. Yeah, that'll do. It's hard to keep track of these things. Oh yeah, so the belt run. So the belt run for the nuclear pasta. So it comes down there, across there, in under there, then across here. I did a bit of repathing on some of the belts at the other end of the south factory because of where I'd already put stuff, but yeah, so it basically comes from about where that there is, where the reticle is, so somewhere it's coming way over. It's where that little craft bench is left here. That's where it's probably coming to. That's where it starts from. Yeah, that'll do episode 26, 27. I've lost track already. Who knows? This episode of the Solar Factory. I will be back, hopefully in a week or so, where I'm actually sure not what I'm going to do next. Probably expand on that singularity stuff. I think I'd like to get them starting to build, because I need them to build. So the singularity cell is used in the ballistic warp drive. So that's also used as the dark matter crystals and the thermopropulsion rocket and these oscillators which are up there. It's made in a manufacturer, so it's only needed for that thing. So I may just build a temporary sort of setup like I did with this thing over here, and just manually feed it the materials I need to get the 200 of those I need to feed that thing. So we'll see, because that's all it's needed in. Singularity cell is just used in that, and I've got that by the bucket load. I think I've got a couple of thousand of that in a storage unit somewhere. That was again thermal propulsion rocket, so yeah, I've got nearly over 4,000 of those, nearly 5,000. The superposition oscillators, I said, are up in that other storage thing. I have got nearly 3,000 of those. So yeah, so we'll probably just build that in a manual sense, rather than belting this and then not needing it after that, because I don't think this has got any other purpose other than feeding the. Yeah, it's just a manufacturer. It's a space component, space elevator component. So, well, so I'll just manually build it. So, how many? And then we'll use that to feed the space elevator at a time. It'll take a long time to build up, but we'll get there. Alright, that'll do now. Thanks very much for watching, and until the next one, bye.